The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. Characterization by Casey McElwain. Period 2. Who is Tom Joad? Tom begins the novel in possession of practical sort of self-interest. 4 years in prison, he claims, have molded him into someone who devotes his time and energies to the present moment. The future, which seems illusionary and out of reach, does not concern him. He adopts a philosophy for living not because of his selfish, but as means of coping. He fears by putting his life in a context larger than present day, he will drive himself mad with anger and hopelessness. Of course, Tom, who exhibits a rare strength, thoughtfulness, and more certainty, is destined for more than mere day-to-day survival. Tom undergoes the most significant transformation in the novel as he says his carpe diem, seize the day philosophy for a commitment to be bettering to the future. During their journey west, Tom assumes the role of Jim Casey's reluctant disciple. The former preacher emphasizes that a human being, when acting alone, can have little effect on the world, and that one can achieve holiness by devoting oneself to one's fellow human being. The hardships and hostilities faced by the Joads family on their journey west serves to convert Tom to Casey's teaching. By the time Tom and Casey reunite at the Compton plantation, Tom realizes that he cannot stand by as a silent witness to the world's injustices. He cannot work for his own family's well-being if it means taking bread from another. At a plantation, Tom abandons the life of private thought that structures the life of the novel's male characters, including Pa Joad and Uncle Tom, and sets out on a course of public action. Who is Ma Joad? A determined, loving woman, Ma Joad emerges as the family center of strength over the course of the novel, as Pa Joad gradually becomes less effective as a leader and provider. Regardless of how bleak circumstances become, Ma Joad meets every obstacle unflinchingly. Time and again, Ma displays a startling capacity to keep herself together, and to keep the family together. In the face of great turmoil, she may demonstrate this facility best in the family's crossing of the California desert. Here, Ma suffers privately with the knowledge that Grandma is dead, riding silently alongside her corpse so that the family can complete its tremendous journey. At the end of this episode, Ma's calm exterior cracks just slightly. She warns Tom not to touch her, saying that she can reach her calm only as if he doesn't reach out to her. This ability to act decisively and to act for the family's good enables Ma to lead the Joads when Pa begins to falter and hesitate. Although she keeps her sorrows to herself, she is not an advocate of solitude. She constantly proves to be the novel's strongest supporter of the family and togetherness. Indeed, the two tendencies are not in conflict, but convey in a philosophy of self-sacrifice. Ma articulates this best perhaps when she wordlessly directs her daughter to breastfeed the starving man in chapter 30. With her unyielding nature, Ma Joad suggests that even the most horrible circumstances can be weathered with greatness. Who is Pa Joad? Pa is a good, thoughtful man, and he claims the family's trip to California with great care and consideration. The hardships faced by the Joads prove too great for him, however, although he works hard to maintain his role as the head of the family. He complains of muddled thoughts and finds himself in frequent quandaries. Until the very end, Pa exhibits a commitment to protecting his family. His determination to erect a dam is a moving testament to his love and singleness of purpose. When his efforts begin to fall short, however, Pa despairs in California. His inability to find work forces him to retreat helplessly into his own thoughts. As a result, he becomes less and less effective in the role as his family leader. And Ma points this out directly. Upon the Weed Patch Camp, she boldly criticizes him for losing sight of his responsibilities to support the family. By the end of the novel, farther diminished by the failed attempt to prevent the family's shelter from flooding, he allows Ma as blindly and helplessly as a child. Paul's gradual breakdown serves as a sharp reminder that hardship does not always build character. Although the challenges of the Jodes' journey survive to strengthen Ma, Tom, and even Rose Sharon, they weaken and eventually paralyze Pa. Who is Jim Casey? Steinbeck employs Jim Casey to articulate some of the novel's major themes. Most notably, the ex-preacher redefines the concept of holiness, suggesting that the most divine aspect of the human experience is not to be found on earth, among one's fellow humans, rather than amid in the clouds, as a radical philosopher, or motivator, and under fire of man, and a martyr. Casey assumes a role akin to that of Jesus Christ, with whom he also shares his initials. Casey begins the novel uncertain of how to use his talents as a speaker and spiritual healer, if not as a leader of religious congregation. By the end of the novel, he learns to apply them to his task of organizing the migrant workers. Indeed, Casey becomes to believe so strongly in his mission to save the suffering laborers that he willingly gives his life for it. Casey's teachings prompt the novel's most dramatic character development by catalyzing Tom Joad's transformation into a social activist and a man of the people, who is Rose of Sharon. In creating the character Rose of Sharon, Steinbeck relies heavily on stereotypes. Throughout the book, we read that the pregnancy has transformed the girl from a high-spirited and spunky girl into a secretive and mysterious woman. Time and again, Steinbeck alludes to the girl's silent self-containment and her impenetrable smile. This portrayal of pregnancy may initially seem to bespeak a romanticism out of keeping with Steinbeck's characteristic realism. However, Steinbeck uses such seemingly ordinary details to prepare Rose of Sharon for the dramatic role she plays at the end of the novel. When she meets the starving man in the barn, she becomes faintly otherworldly. Her captivity is maintained. Prepared with her suffering and grief of her dead child, likens her to the Virgin Mother, suggested that there is hope to be found even in the least circumstances. Who is Algib? Tom's younger brother, a 16-year-old boy obsessed with cars and girls. Al is vain and cocky, but extremely proficient mechanic, and his expertise proves vital in bringing the Jodes, as well as the Wilsons, to California. He idolizes Tom, but by the end of the novel he becomes his own man. When he falls in love with a girl named Jeans Wainwright at a cotton plantation where they are working, he decides to stay with her rather than leaving his family. Who is Ivy and Sari Wilson? A couple traveling to California who the Jodes meet on Highway 66, just before Grandpa's death. The Wilsons lend the Jodes their tent so that Grandpa can have a comfortable place to die. The Jodes return the couple's kindness by fixing their broken down car, hoping to make their trip easier. The two families combine forces, traveling together until Sari Wilson's house forces her and Ivy to stop. Who is Connie? Rose of Sharon's husband. Connie is an unrealistic dreamer who abandons the Jodes after they reach California. This act of selfishness and immaturity surprises no one but his naive wife. Who is Noah Joad? Tom's older brother, Noah, has been slightly deformed since birth. Pa Joad had to perform the delivery and, panicking, tried to pull him out forcibly. Slowly and quietly, Noah leaves the family behind at a stream near the California border, telling Tom that he feels his parents do not love him as much as they love their other children. Who is Ruthie Joad? The second and younger Joad daughter, Ruthie has a fiery relationship to her brother Winfield. The two are intensely dependent upon one another and fiercely competitive. When she brags to another child that her brother has killed 2 men, she inadvertently puts Tom's life in danger, forcing him to flee. Who is Winfield Joad? At the age of 10, Winfield is the youngest of the Joad's children. Bob worries for his well-being, fearing that without a proper home, he will grow up to be a wild and ruthless. Who is Molly Grace? One of the Joad's Oklahoma neighbors. When the bank evicts his family, Molly refuses to leave his land. Instead, he lets his wife and children move to California without him, and stays behind to live outdoors. When he comes up upon Tom at the abandoned Joad farm, he directs the young man to his Uncle John's. Who is Agnes Wainwright, the daughter of the couple who shares the Joad's boxer car toward the end of the novel. Agnes becomes engaged to Al, who leaves his family in order to stay with her.